We know that we have people who go to work in the morning and don't come home because they are going to die at work. And unfortunately, one of the ways that people die at work today is workplace violence. Now, we wish that weren't a reality, but since it is, then any company today needs to accept that reality and make sure we're assessing for that threat. If we want to know if OSHA has addressed this, they haven't in terms of having a standard that we have to comply with. But that doesn't mean that they don't recognize it, since it is one of the leading causes of workplace fatality. And so what they have done is written a directive, which are instructions to their compliance officers for how to look into this. If we use that guide to help us assess our workplace for this threat of violence, then we're probably moving down the right path. OSHA identifies 4 types of workplace violence, and so every company should say, do we have that risk? The first is called type 1, or the stranger violence, where you're the random company at the wrong place at the wrong time because you have something that somebody wants, which is typically money or valuables. So these are the crimes that get committed when somebody comes in for a robbery. So that type of violence could be very prevalent at fast food restaurants and at quick trips and at gas stations and places like that. Now, the second type of violence is called the client violence, and this is where, by the nature of your work, you are more at risk. This would be in hospitals and social service companies, who are the leading industries in non-fatal workplace violence because they have patients who get out of control or families of patients who could be upset. This is also working for the government because somebody doesn't like you, the government, or what you represent or stand for. This is also folks who work at schools today, and all we have to do is say Columbine or Virginia Tech or Newtown and know that there are crazy people out there that want to use the vulnerable environment of schools to hurt people. This would also be in corrections or in any type of jail facility or something like that, where this would be a violent place to work. This would also be in banking. So when it's the nature of your work and you would have clients or patients or students that could end up being the vulnerable folks that are there as well. Now, the third type of violence is something that can happen in any company because this is employee violence. So whether you have employee-employee or employer-employee interaction, then we know that this could be a prevalent type of violence that companies do need to prepare for. And the fourth type is personal violence. That's the domestic violence that comes to the workplace, or the spouse, friend, lover, ex of an employee coming to the workplace to try to harm them, and in the process hurts other workers there. So today, every company should be assessing for those 4 types of violence, recognizing what you are at most risk for, and then depending upon the type, knowing what type of controls and programs to put into place to prevent or reduce the possibility of these occurrences happening.